I've decided to do option 1 of the religion project, and the church I chose to focus on is Our Lady of Mount Carmel in the Bronx. I'll start with a brief history of the church. Back in the 1900s, the Northwest Bronx had only one parish, St. Philip Neri, which was the only parish serving Italians at the time. This meant the Italian families living in the Belmont neighborhood had to walk all the way to Grand Concourse for Mass, sacraments, baptisms, and even funerals. As the Italian population of Belmont rapidly grew, this became more and more difficult and inconvenient for the Italian families, especially for the elderly. Recognizing the need for a local spiritual home, a committee led by Pietro Sinelli approached Father Daniel F.X. Burke to open a mission right in Belmont. Father Burke agreed with this vision and petitioned the Archbishop, and soon received approval for the mission that would eventually become Our Lady of Mount Carmel. By the end of 1906, Father Burke took a major step forward. He purchased 7 lots at 187th Street and Belmont Avenue for $21,000, securing the land where the church still stands today. Only months later, on June 29, 1907, Archbishop, later Cardinal, Farley personally laid the cornerstones of the new church, marking the official start of its construction. Progress came quickly. The 750-seat basement church opened on Christmas Day in 1907, allowing the community to attend Mass in their own neighborhood for the very first time. A few years later, the 500-seat upper church opened on December 8, 1912, at a cost of $12,000, giving the parish a beautiful worship space that truly reflected its identity and devotion. Finally, in 1917, the upstairs church was formally dedicated. What started as a mission soon became the largest Italian national parish in the entire Archdiocese of New York. During the 40s and 50s, over 40,000 Italians called Our Lady of Mount Carmel their parish home. Our Lady of Mount Carmel is the patroness of the church, obviously, and her title comes from Mount Carmel in Israel, one of the first places ever dedicated to the Virgin Mary. She became especially important to the Carmelite order after St. Simon Stock, one of their early leaders, had a vision of Mary on July 16, 1251. In this apparition of Mary, she appeared holding the brown scapular, which is 2 pieces of cloth connected by straps that hang over the front and back, and promised special protection to all who wear it, which is still an important symbol of Mary and St. Simon Stock today. One of the most striking things that caught my eye when entering the church was seeing the depiction of Mary painted on the ceiling above the main altar. Seeing Our Lady of Mount Carmel portrayed with such respect, being placed physically above everyone else in the painting, yet shown with so much compassion as she holds baby Jesus out to everyone beneath her, from saints to the souls in purgatory, help me understand why she's one of the most important figures in the faith. The church, which is built in a Romanesque style, shows beautiful architecture. An interesting fact I learned from the priest of Our Lady of Mount Carmel is that the 12 massive marble columns, 6 on each side, that can be seen when entering the church, each represent the 12 disciples and how it was up to them to hold up the church and its teachings after Jesus ascended into heaven. The roof above the altar shows the images of the 12 disciples in the main alley, and the stained glass windows on the left side of the church, facing the altar, represent the joyful mysteries of the Rosary and the flight to Egypt. On the right side, the stained glass windows represent some moments of the public life of Jesus and his resurrection, and of course, in between each of the stained glass windows, the stages of the cross can be seen depicting Jesus on his journey carrying the cross. The church has 2 side altars. On the right, the altar honors St. Anthony of Padua, a beloved Italian saint known as the miracle worker in his community. Nearby are statues of St. Rita of Cascia and St. Jude the Apostle, both patrons of impossible causes, along with an image of St. Michael the Archangel defeating the devil. On the left, the altar is dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, with statues of St. Anne holding the child Mary out to the world. To the left of this altar is the baptismal font, where thousands of children have been baptized, surrounded by statues of St. Gerard, St. Rocco, the Infant of Prague, and the souls of purgatory. Knowing that literal thousands of children were baptized there made me feel something I honestly didn't expect to when I was making this video. I expected to walk into the church and be impressed by the art and imagery. Anyone can appreciate a beautiful depiction of heaven or stained glass. But when I was standing in the exact place where so many people began their relationship with God, long before they could even understand what faith meant, it made me think about all the parents who stood there holding their babies, praying for their child's future, praying for protection, and praying that God would guide them through whatever life brings. It made my own faith feel more real, because so many people had been in the exact position in their faith before. It made me reflect on how God has been guiding me long before I ever even noticed, since before my baptism, but, baptism, start. What really stayed with me, though, was how the artwork makes it feel like the earthly and divine meet in one place. You stand there on a regular floor, in a building made by human hands, but when you look up, it feels like heaven is opening right above you. The art and the light coming through the stained glass draw your eyes upward, almost lifting you without even realizing it. For me, it was a kind of moment where you stop feeling like you're just standing in a church and start feeling like you're standing in a space where God is actually reaching down toward you. When I walked past saints like St. Anthony or St. Jude, it made me think of how many people must have stood in the exact same spots before asking for help, guidance, or trying to make sense of their faith. It honestly gave the church and its saints a very powerful feeling, like the walls were holding together all the hope and prayers from over a century of people who trusted God enough to bring their problems here. Being in that space made me slow down in a way I didn't expect. I found myself thinking about my own relationship with God, not because someone told me to, but because the church pulled it out of me. It was like the beauty around me created a quiet moment where I could actually hear my own faith more clearly. It made me realize that the divine isn't always about miracles or huge signs. Sometimes it's about standing in a place where generations of people have prayed, looking at art and imagery that was made for you to point toward heaven, suddenly feeling like God is closer than you thought. That moment of faith made the idea of God a lot more personal and real to me. And that has been my project on Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Thank you.